what was your experience like on Shark Tank? I want to hear more
Oh
about
man,
that too.
it was so fun. I mean, honestly, it took about.
My name is Smitte.
All right, guys, welcome to the Successful Smitte podcast. I got an awesome guest here today. Her name's Berger. She is the CEO and founder of Lushra, which is an event company located in Dallas, Texas. They specialize in balloon installations and over-the-top Insta-worthy activations. She's also a dog mom to Jack the Party Pup, who basically is the company mascot, I guess you could say. He kind of runs the show behind the scenes, I heard. And she's also featured on Shark Tank. So, Joe, welcome to the podcast. Tell us a little bit more about yourself or anything I might have missed.
That was a great intro. Thank you. I'm happy to be here and talking with you. I live in Dallas, Texas. Lushra is an event styling company. We're 4 years old. We just had our birthday in August. Before Lushra was an event styling company, I hand etched wine glasses starting on Etsy. From there, it kind of transitioned. You know, you pivot, you learn. We survived the pandemic, was featured on Shark Tank, no deals on Shark Tank, great business experience. You could say I'm a hard worker, a go-getter, lots of challenges along the way, as any business owner will tell you, just kind of picking up the pieces and keep on going towards your goals. But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. So as far as Lushra, like you said, it started out as a wine company and then you kind of just adjusted it to doing stuff with like balloons and like, I guess, party type environment things.
Yes. So my first company was a social media marketing company. And I started that when I was about 23 years old. I quit my ad agency job and started a marketing company, just helping small business owners utilize the power of social media. PR influencers is all kind of a new thing. So I was able to really like tap into the millennial market, and some of these older business owners that had quite gotten onto Instagram and gotten onto influencer marketing, I was kind of the first one to be like, hey, let me just take care of this for you. You can pay me a monthly fee and I'll handle all these things that you don't want to deal with. So I was doing that. And then from that, I had a couple bad clients and it just really pushed me. I was already doing this little Etsy thing. And it pushed me, it made me question, okay, I can have two kind of half businesses where I was kind of focusing on the marketing, kind of focusing on these wine glasses. And it really made me evaluate, okay, where do you see growth the most? With marketing, it was like the service is what I was providing. But with the wine glasses, I was like, I could turn this into a brand. It could live beyond me and my service. So that's kind of what pushed me. A bad client that went bankrupt basically pushed me into being like, okay, I need to focus on my own product, my own marketing skills towards my own company. And from there, that's when I went full-time Lushra in 2018. So in 2018, and then I was doing the wine glasses, I was doing pop-ups at boutiques, I was trying to do wholesale. We were manufacturing the glasses in Dallas. And honestly, the market's super saturated. There's a couple owners in the industry that just kind of take over the market. That's fine. Realize, okay, I'm not going to continually push these wine glasses. I saw this balloon trend come from Australia. So this is in 2018. If you follow Instagram or if you follow Lushra on Instagram, you see like our main focus is these balloon installations, which in 2018 was kind of like no one was doing it. So I saw the trend going on. I learned on YouTube. And from there, I just started doing these balloon installations for my friends' kids' events, for my personal birthday party. And I started tagging restaurants and like the venues I was at. People would then go on Instagram, like we all do, look on the tagged photos and they started calling me for styling their bridal showers or helping with their kid's birthday party. And so from there, it kind of just turned into a full-on event styling company. And so now we were awarded Best Balloon Installations in Dallas. And so that was a huge honor. We are so grateful. There's 4 to 5 amazing companies in Dallas that offer balloon installations. And now we're really focusing on like the full service of event styling. So with an event, you know, it's the experience, it's the music, it's the aesthetic of the decor, it's the styling of the food, it's the whole entire experience of the event, which we're starting to get into, which is really fun and exciting. So that's kind of how we transitioned into being full styling.
So were you guys the first company in Dallas to start doing the balloon installations, and then everyone else came later?
I would say, honestly, I would say there was maybe 2 other companies that started at the same time as me. I'm not sure if it was like the exact same time, but it had been like a similar quarter. We're like, I think maybe, you know, there's like 4 creative people that were like, hey, this is really freaking cool. Let's learn how to do it. So yeah, I would say there's 4. And then now I would say there's, and a lot of them are independent artists. So they just do it on their own time, or they have maybe work from the extra garage, or like work from home type of situation. I would say there's 25 independent artists that kind of offer these balloon installations. So yeah.
Awesome. So what is, like, I guess, future Lushra 5 years from now or 10 years from now? What does that look like for you as far as your goals for Lushra?
Yeah, so my top goal right now, we have a 6-month goal of how do we recreate what we're doing in Dallas and Austin. So trying to really get concrete on the job roles, figuring out the processes so we can kind of rinse and repeat in another city. Our fan base is in Texas, so we really just want to stay in Texas and do really, really well and see where that goes. But definitely having a secondary location is a big goal I've been working towards for a while, but putting that 6-month mark on it, it's kind of where all my focus is going.
There you go. That's awesome. So
Yeah.
are you planning on expanding to other states at all in the future, or are you just really planning on just only focusing on Texas?
I would love to be in other states, cities. It's a dream for sure to kind of hit the major cities in the US. But I kind of just want to I like to focus more so on 6-month, 1-year goals before I kind of get ahead of myself. I think in the beginning of the business, like, yeah, I'm a dreamer. I'm a visionary. So I've always been like, I want this massive thing and I want to be in every city. And I see this trend being everywhere. And I see being like an elevated party service. We say like the Uber of balloons, an elevated party city. Like those are the type of vibes that we're trying to create with Lushra. But also what I realized, like, we don't have investors. I don't have a team of board members that are there to help me focus on some of these goals. So I think right now in the phase that we're in, it's important to just kind of see like 6 months ahead and kind of inspire the small team that I have right now with like, hey, this is the next 6 months and this is like where we need to be going as a company, without kind of getting ahead of ourselves, being like, we're going to be the next whatever, you know.
Yeah, I think that's important, being able to manage your focus and focus on what's, I guess, like the actions that are going to get you to your final outcome more than just the final outcome itself.
Right. And it's just like small little tweaks that I've been learning about, of like, okay, increasing your average order value by 30%. So we have 2 lines of business. So we have an online business, which if you go on to lushra.com, it's basically you create your own party that you're planning for yourself. So we call our online customer base our party pros. So they're going online, they're planning their birthdays. They can pick we have 62 color options for balloons. We do custom balloons, like printed balloons. We do like vinyls, like floor vinyls. If you ever seen that event where you like kind of walk in and do like the foot selfie with like the vinyl around. So we print off those, send them out. We do custom cups, napkins, and it's really behind the create your own party. So we empower them to pick what their party is, We help them with the aesthetic, but they're in control of what they want it to be the outcome. And then our event side of the business, we offer balloon installations, we offer the event styling, we have backdrops, neon sign rentals, disco balls, like anything aesthetically, but that's only service in DFW. So we have like two kind of customer audiences, and we're kind of balancing. It's about 60% of our business is online and 40% is actually the DFW service.
Okay, nice. Did you expect Lushra to do as well as it's done when you first started it, or has it kind of surprised you how well it's taken off?
It's really surprised. I mean, like, thinking about the question, it's really surprised me. I think during COVID, when all small businesses were kind of like, oh wow, this is a thing and we need to figure something out, we need to adapt, we need to pivot and change. I think when I was figuring out what I was going to do while events were shut down, I didn't realize that by focusing on the online commerce that it would explode. And so we grew 800% online through COVID.
Wow.
So I think during a time when most people are like, it's okay if you're not doing well, like, you know, there's loans and there's services that will help you get through this time. I kind of used it as like, okay, we cannot do the service. We're going to pour all of our energy into online because that's what we can do right now. And it completely took off. I really didn't expect it. And honestly, like looking back, I'm really trying to be more like grateful and more like consistent with like, this is what we're doing and this is how far we've come in these 4 years. I think it's hard as a visionary leader to constantly be looking like, well, we don't have a second location. And like, I don't have more than X amount in my bank account. Like, I don't have all these things. And so to really think about like, wow, like I survived. Any business that survived the global pandemic, especially in the event industry, you know, surviving your first 4 years, I think I'm very proud of. So yeah, definitely like gratitude is something that I'm focusing more on as I'm building my success and building my team and empire.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine that'd be pretty, I guess, scary, like right when COVID hits and everyone goes from having these parties and things like that to just kind of everyone to themselves. I bet that was kind of a scary moment where you're like, oh crap, like what do I do next? How do I continue this business and everything?
Yeah, I mean, we were prepping for an event in Austin, South by Southwest, which is a big event. We had a massive order and we were really excited about it. And then we kept thinking, okay, it's happening. And then they were just like, hey, it's shut down. We're not doing it. And at that point, I kind of processed like, oh, wow, like this is serious. And like events are shutting down. And then what was it called? The stay in order. What was it called? The stay in order, like everyone like not allowed to leave your home.
Oh, like the home mandate or something like that?
Yeah, the home mandate happened. And I was like, oh gosh, like this is absolutely happening. And I can't ignore it. And I think like as a business owner, you're constantly like, it's fine, it'll be okay. Like next week, events will be back. And then I think just reality set in of like, no, events will not be back next week. And so that's when I really started to focus on like, okay, what can we do with what we have right now, which is our online commerce store for planning parties. Because I knew people now more than ever needed to celebrate the small moments. So now more than ever, people wanted to go out of their way to, one, support small business, which was amazing. Two, to make sure in the shitty situation that we were in with the global pandemic, someone's still celebrating a birth year. Mm-hmm. So how do I make this birthday extra special to know this person while all the shit's going on? Like they're loved, they're important. This celebration is something I want to make sure that they feel worthy of and they have this special moment during this time. So I think just our messaging and I think hitting the right influencers that really helped us through that time. I could have never imagined that it would have taken our online store to where it is today.
Do you guys have like a mission statement that you live by, the company?
Yeah, so we have like a Lushra lifestyle. Our mission is to empower people to feel worthy of celebration.
Oh, that's awesome.
we always do things like over the top, big moments. And a lot of times, honestly, mostly male are like, this is stupid. Like, oh, I have to pick this up for my wife and this is ridiculous. And we're like, no, your wife is worthy of the celebration. And this big moment is for feeling worthy and proud. I think life is full of highs and lows. And so our job at Lushra is to really let people like sit in the highs because it's not forever. And so like when we do have these like high moment celebrations, it's like, we want you to like feel so worthy of this moment. We want this moment to just get you through your next low and like for you to feel like very like grounded and present in the moment of that celebratory moment.
I really like that a lot. That's really cool because it is super important to celebrate the small moments. Because I know, just reflecting back, I was a swimmer in college. That was my sport, and I used to set these super big goals for myself. But I remember along the way, I never felt happy about them unless I actually hit my big goal, which most time I never hit it because it was like pretty like crazy. You know, I'd still improve and I would hit some of these smaller goals, but I'd hit them and I would kind of shrug them off and not celebrate and like reward myself for like all the work that I put in basically. And looking back, I'm like, dang, you know, I probably shouldn't have taken those moments so much for granted as much as I did.
Yeah. And I think it's so easy. Like Lushra is around like the 5 E's of life, which is baby, bridal, birthday, bachelorette, and then branded. So I think like those 5 moments of like, yeah, launching an event, having a baby, getting married, those are really big moments that we're centered around. But I think more than anything, it's like the birthdays, the overcoming the breakup, the overcoming the hard challenges of life, and more so like the everyday celebrations. We're really trying to tap into that more of like, you're worthy of celebration every day, not just like waiting for these big moments to happen to you of like feeling like, oh, now it's a celebration. It's like, no, every day is a celebration and you have to figure out what you want to celebrate that day. But we want to be a part of that moment of celebration of life just daily.
Dang, that is really cool. I actually really like that a lot.
Thank you.
What do you feel like have been some of the challenges that you're currently facing in the business?
Current challenges right now. So we have 2 locations now. So it's a really exciting challenge. We just got a warehouse for our event team. So challenges of kind of doubling our operating expenses and kind of questioning like, okay, can we do this? Like, can we afford this? We're going to have double rent. Not only double rent, but we have to get in double inventory, double everything. So I think that's a challenge of scaling in a proper way. Like I said before, we don't have any investors or don't have any like safety net. So we are our own safety net. This team is what it is. So I think that is probably the biggest challenge right now of being very like clean and clear on cash flow. And just making sure that we're doing decisions smartly, and just really thinking about like the cash flow of the monthly business.
So how did you even learn how to run a company like from the start, like with all this stuff with like managing a team? I know you guys will have investors, but like, I guess suppliers, marketing, just everything that involves a business. Like, how did you learn how to do all that?
So just figured it out. Everyone, you know, just figuring it out piece by piece. I think it's overwhelming to think like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to manage a budget. Like, how am I going to manage this? But in the beginning, it was like, hey, just focus on revenue. Like, how do I get business? And then once you kind of start getting business consistently, it's like, okay, how do I get repeat business? And how do I offer incentives? So it's really like a lot of Google, a lot of listening to other entrepreneurs that have done it before. So like, obviously like Sarah Blakely and Susie Batiste, Whitney Wolf, like pouring into podcasts that they're featured on, like getting little tidbits like here and there, I think is so important. Just every day learning something new. And in the end of the day, like whatever position in whatever job you're doing, no one knows what the hell they're doing, but it's about figuring it out and just doing it and making mistakes and being okay with making mistakes. And I think the thing with making mistakes is taking the lessons from them, because then the mistake's going to keep happening and happening until you're like, oh shit, like I need to learn my numbers because I'm going to run out of money every single month, whether I'm making 6 figures or 5 figures. It's the same problem until I learn how to manage it.
That's true. Yeah. Taking those so-called failures or losses and turning them into lessons, I think is huge.
Yeah. And like being like slow enough to like sit down and like reevaluating instead of just being like, okay, go, 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 go. It's like slowing down is actually the smartest thing that I can do as a business owner. And sometimes I feel so bad. Like today, Wednesdays, I just spend time at my own place. I don't go into the office because I really need like think time. And I actually got the go to do that because I was listening to a podcast from Sarah Blakely, and she was like, I think it was Monday. She's like, Mondays I spend at home. I don't go into the office. And I was like, well, if Sarah Blakely does that, I can do it too. So I need a day to myself. I need a think day. And it kind of gave me like the go ahead, knowing like, okay, this like billionaire entrepreneur has days of herself. Like I can absolutely take a day to myself to help my business and my own mental health too.
Definitely. Is Sarah Blakely, is she kind of like your, I guess, mentor, like someone that you really look up to, like your biggest hero right now?
I think that she is just like a pioneer when it comes to female entrepreneurship. The fact that she's also hit $1 billion, that kind of just puts her in a whole new level of bracket. Her brand is known nationwide, worldwide. So yeah, I think she's definitely someone that I look up to. And she's just a pioneer for females.
Yeah, she's awesome. I know her husband, Jesse Itzler. Do you know him, Jesse Itzler?
I don't know him, but yeah, I mean, I don't know either of them, but I know of him. I think he's a really cool guy.
Yeah, he's awesome. I've read both of his books. Spending like a Month with Monks or something along those lines, and then the other one was Living with the Seal. They're freaking awesome. They're super cool. It's almost like a vlog in a book. It was super cool.
Cool. I should read that.
Yeah, they're really good.
I like Jay Shetty too.
Oh yeah, Jay Shetty, he's good.
He was a monk for about a year. I like reading up on his stuff too.
Nice. Yeah, Jay Shetty, he's cool. What do you think in the business, like what are some of the things that have really contributed to your success so far?
I would say leaning into my strengths. So instead of thinking about and hiring out for my weaknesses. So my strengths for sure are marketing, creativity, futuristic thinking, new ideas, aesthetically pleasing creativity. I've been focused on that the entire time. I hired out an operations manager that can really like be more present in the day-to-day, so I can kind of focus on my zone of genius. Also, I have hired consultants to help me with finance and managing as well, because that's something like I'm so like futuristic and like go, go, go. It's like, okay, but I've cultivated this team and I have to also manage and pour into my employees to make sure like they're showing up 100% as themselves, not only in the workplace, but their mental health as well is something really important to me. And I want all of mine, like we have mental health days. We do quarterly bonding. So we meditate as a team. We do yoga and breath work as a team. And we get to know each other on a personal level. So like when someone is showing up to work and they're not performing well, it's like, okay, let's stop for a second. Like, what's going on in your life? Like, I'm here for you. Do you want to talk about something? Like, if something is going on in your world, you can't like block that. It's definitely more so like a blend. I feel like in today's age, it's a blend. It's not like the 9 to 5. It's not, it's just kind of like the blend where life is work, work is life. You don't want work to be 100% of your life, but it is a huge part of showing up for work. So I think acknowledging the human side of everyone in the workplace is so important, of like actually knowing what's going on in your day-to-day life instead of just like showing up, doing the work, checking out.
Yeah, definitely. It's important to, know your employees and create like a culture where everyone cares about each other. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, super important.
And what about like outside the business? Do you have any habits that you do that you feel like is really, I know you mentioned the listening to podcasts and stuff, but what are some of your other habits that you feel like have really helped you inside the business?
Yeah, I would say meditation is the biggest. I meditate twice a day, and it's something that I'm proud to say I've made a habit. I know when I don't meditate twice a day, like my energy is off, and I'm like, I just feel like I'm like in the morning, I have to meditate before I go to work. And then when I go to work, I have to meditate kind of before I have my evening. So I can kind of like shake off what happened throughout the day and just be more present in the evening. Because I think a lot of times as a business owner, like your mind is like constantly thinking of ideas and you're constantly thinking. And it's like, okay, that meditation moment gives me a time to pause, like release it, let it go, to like sink to like equilibrium, and then to enjoy cooking dinner without having to worry about, okay, what am I going to do with this problem at work? It's being able to kind of have like a duality of life of like, yes, I'm a business owner, and yes, I'm pouring everything I have into the business, and yes, I'm constantly thinking of things to grow, to help, to learn. But I also am a 30-year-old single girl who is learning how to live on her own, is learning like what foods feed her soul and what things that she needs to do to recharge over a weekend, and to learn like when I'm in a funk, like what things do I need to do to get out of it instead of just going with emotion. So I think meditation is big for me. I also do like sound baths, which I really love, and that's just kind of like
that?
So it's just like a crystal bowl. I don't know if you can see in the background. Yeah, that little crystal bowl.
Okay.
And so you kind of do it with your meditation and it clears your energy. So I'm like super into like your chakra system. And so you can, it's a whole nother like life energy. So I'm into that. I do yoga. I also love to do berries. Working out is super important. I haven't quite gotten down like as much of a habit with working out as I have meditation. So that's kind of like my next challenge is like, okay, how do I keep my meditation habit, but also add in this workout habit that I know I need to do? Something that I've also learned is to spend the first 3 hours of my day just for me. So like as a business owner, anyone that just has like really big goals in life, there's going to constantly be people calling you, texting you, emailing you, like asking for things. And in the beginning of my day, like I make sure like I'm in control of my day and I'm not going to let someone or something control what I need to accomplish today. And by getting those like first 3 hours, so like the meditation, the workout, the morning coffee, like the snuggles with my dog, like I need those like first 3 hours to ground myself through the day, and then just to like set my energy for the day, knowing like, okay, this is what I want to accomplish in the day. And another thing I think is being super mindful of living in the present moment. So I read this article and it was so cool. It talked about how you have each day of life. And so it starts with like a square that's completely empty, and that's your day. So you fill your square with things that you love, but the next day it's empty again. And so you're like, oh, but yesterday was so good. Well, you have a whole nother day to fill it with things that you love. And that's what life is like these colored. And then when you zoom out with the days, it's the year. And so you kind of see like all the colored spots of like what you want your year to be like. But it's not the year that makes your life, it's the days. So it's like every single day, like how do you want to fill your day? That's what's going to make you happy. So like for me to think like, okay, I'm going to be like so happy when like I'm married or when I have kids. And it's so easy to get in that like futuristic mindset. So like instead it's like, okay, today, like I have a clear blank slate. Like I may not have tomorrow. Yesterday is gone. What do I want to do with my like clear blank space today? What colors do I want to fill with it? What activities do I want to do? Like for me to say like, wow, like today was amazing. Today was exactly what I wanted it to be. And I'm going to fill my day like that tomorrow. Or like hey, I didn't get a workout today. Like, that's okay. I want tomorrow to be colored with this workout. So I'm going to change that. So I think living daily intentionally has changed my world too, because I'm not thinking too far into the future and I'm not living in my past.
Mm-hmm. That reminds me of, I don't know who the quote's by, but it's basically, I heard it from a mentor actually. They told me to ask myself this question is, whenever you are doing like a certain action or whatever the case may be, ask yourself, like, is this how, like, what would the best version of myself do in this situation, basically. That's what that reminds me of.
I love asking my higher self, like, what would my higher self do? Like, what would the 40-year-old Jill like come in and kind of like help me right now? What would she say? What would she do? How would she handle the situation? I love that. It's very empowering.
Do you do journaling at all?
Yeah, I love to journal.
Mhm.
I think it's really important, like, just to get information out that you may not even know that you've been like, it's been on your mind, like your subconscious. So I have lots of just open-ended questions, like whether it's given to me by my therapist or I've saw on the internet, just open-ended questions, and just allow myself to free write for just 5 minutes. And then I reread it and just kind of like, okay, what can I take from this? And a lot of times it's just like scratch, or I'm like, okay, I just got out what I needed to get out. But if it keeps recurring, like I will go through at the end of the year my journals and I'll like circle certain words, and it's like, wow, this word showed up a lot, or like this idea keeps popping up. I've also read and learned that like if you're an idea creator, you need one spot to keep all of your ideas. And for me, I have like a little like note on my phone, it's ideas, and any download, any idea that I get, I'm like, okay, going in my ideas, even if it's wild. And it's maybe it's like, okay, this can be put in a box for 5 years from now when we have the capacity to do that. But it's like organizing your ideas. And if the thought happens like 3 times, it's like, okay, this is the universe's gift. Like, let's roll with this idea. But just kind of like organizing ideas as well, and organizing just journaling. And I do a lot of digital journals. So like I use an app, it's called Ulysses. It's like a little butterfly icon, but I journal on that, and I have like so many different like tabs on the left-hand side. So if it's like, okay, if it's a free write, if it's a problem solve, if it's like a managing problem, like I'll kind of just write out what the problem is and then come up with the solution, just like free writing. So yeah, I journal a lot with different things, and I try to keep it organized like digitally.
I do something kind of similar to that, where I have like a note in my phone, and it has, well, I have like a bunch of different folders in my notes. And usually what I'll do, well, I have like these certain questions I ask myself every day at the end of my day, just kind of reflecting on the day. It just talks about like, what are my wins for the day? What could I do better? What did I learn from the day? And then like, what am I grateful for? Stuff like that. But sometimes if I hear from a mentor or maybe on a podcast or something like that, a question, I'm like, let me think about that. I'm going to reflect on that tonight. And then I usually just start typing and see, I guess, what comes out of it. And it's really cool. I used to not be into journaling. I used to think it was like, oh, this is dumb. Like, what's the point? But the more I've been doing it, the more I've been realizing there's actually a lot of value in it.
Yeah, I think it's more so like just checking in with yourself. It's like, hey, and I wish that I would have checked in with myself more in my 20s. But checking in with yourself, especially like if you're dating, if you are just doing new things, it's like, hey, like, how do I really feel? Like, how does this person make me feel? Is this like where I want to be going? Like, just checking in with yourself and like truly like your intuition of knowing like, okay, like, didn't like this, but like, let's get more clear on like the next type of person that I would want to go on a date with, or didn't like how this situation happened at work. So let's just like be mindful of that moving forward. Like, this made me feel a certain type of way. Next time I'm going to stand in my power and say how I feel.
That's awesome. So I want to talk about you a little bit more, Jill. What are some of your personal goals for yourself?
Personal goals, that's a good question. I am trying to get more of a consistent workout. And so just finding things I love. I'm actually doing yoga teacher training next year.
Oh,
I
nice.
signed up in January. So that's really exciting for me. I switched between Barry's boot camp and Jungle. It's a local fitness studio here in Dallas that does like Pilates and yoga. So I like to switch up my workouts in that way. Personal goals for myself is opening myself up for dating for sure. And letting that be a priority for me and not just be so zoomed in on my business life. Personal goals, also just being able to travel a little bit more and using the creativity, the creative freedom I've created being an owner and entrepreneur. I think a lot of people get stuck and they're like, I can't leave my business. I can't take vacation. And that's definitely not a business owner or entrepreneur that I want to be. I want to use my business for me. And I think it's really a mental thing of like letting go of some of the, operational things and making sure I'm taking time for my personal life and not being so zoned in on Lushra. I think that's a huge thing for me as I'm building out a team and trust and knowing Lushra is not Jill, and I don't ever want Jill to be Lushra. So just kind of finding more dimension in like myself as an entrepreneur and being able to stand more confidently and in things outside of business. I think it's very easy for people to define themselves on what other people think is success. And I think it's interesting when you're like, when you first emailed me about being a successful entrepreneur. In my mind, I was like, I'm not a successful entrepreneur. Like, I literally thought that. And then I was like, no, like, you are. Like, you have built a business that brings 6 figures monthly. You have built a team that loves what they do. You have built a business that is recognized in Dallas. And I think for me, like, success might be a certain amount in my bank account and a certain lifestyle. So I think for me, kind of going back and like redefining what success looks like, because I can wake up every day and choose what I'm doing. I'm not glued to a job that I hate. I think redefining what success looks like for me is definitely something that I'm working on as my business turned 4 and I'm growing as an entrepreneur and the leader. So yeah, I think that.
That's cool. I know I had a talk with one of my mentors. It was probably about maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. We were actually talking about what does success mean? And for me at the time, I was like, oh, if I have $1 million by 30, like that's me being successful. And I realized after talking to him, he kind of put it into perspective for me that it's not like money is great. Obviously it gives you freedom to do like what you want basically, but and also maybe it frees up some time for you. But at the end of the day, he kind of taught me that success is more like who you become as a person and like, are you happy with what you're doing? Becoming like a man of value or a woman of value, and developing yourself and also impacting others and changing other people's lives. And so that's kind of been my biggest mindset shifts with this podcast is originally like when I do meditation also and visualization and stuff. And when I was visualizing, I'd been thinking like, okay, what are, I want to get like 10,000 subscribers on YouTube or like 100,000 plays in my podcast. But eventually, actually, this was like 2 days ago, I had this realization when I was meditating. I was like, why am I focusing on this? Like I should be focusing on like how many people's lives can I change and focus on that instead of just the subscribers and the views. Because if I'm changing people's lives, naturally all that stuff, the money, the subscribers, whatever, is going to come as a byproduct. And so not that I'm not going to still take the same actions to try to get those things in a sense, but the energy behind it and the intention is going to be so much different whenever I am like posting little clips about the podcast or things like that.
I really resonate with that. And I really do believe it's the energy of how you feel. And so like success is like, yeah, like how do I feel? Do I feel successful? But it's more so, yeah, the impact that you have on people and like how you feel of like making a difference in the world. Everyone wants to make a difference and impact. So tuning into like, where can I impact and like, who can I pour in today, or like what conversations can I have today that not only like do I want to increase revenue, yes, but are my employees like, can I pour into someone today, or like can we focus on one of our core values like as a business that like will actually help improve the lives of people working with us.
Mm-hmm. There's this philosophy that I found out about it because from the podcast, the first guy that I interviewed, he lives by his philosophy, and he kind of, I guess, poured it into me, and his life gives to the giver. I don't know if you've heard of Joe Polish. You know who Joe Polish is?
No.
Okay. Yeah, he's awesome. You should check him out.
Okay, Joe
He
Polish.
he has a book called Life Gives to the Giver, and then he has one coming out called What's in It for Them. It comes out sometime in November, but basically, I guess I've just been really trying to live by this philosophy that life gives to the giver. So the more you give out of the kindness of your heart and really pour into like everyone around you and try to make sure that they're becoming the best they can. At least this is how I've interpreted it, is I want to pour into others and bring the best out of people. And then, not that this is my intention, but as a byproduct, most of the time, the universe or whatever you believe in is going to give that back to you in some way, like good karma or whatever you want to call it.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that.
Mm-hmm. What do you feel like has been some of the biggest challenges that have helped shape you into who you are?
I think challenges as a leader is knowing that I have everything I need inside of me. I think when I first decided to grow my team, I was not confident, and I think I made a couple hire decisions that were not right for Lushra or myself at the time, and they did not go as planned. And I think those type of situations where, you know, having to fire people quitting, things like that, just, it's shit, you know, it's like, this isn't supposed to happen to me. It does, but you're like, you grow from it and you learn from it and you rebuild and you're stronger from that. So I'm grateful that I have had like a turnover in my staff. It has made me stronger as a leader, and it has made me just appreciate employees more. And I was talking with someone this morning actually, and they gave me a really great analogy. And I don't mean it as like an ownership type of thing, but like with staff and people that work for you, it's rented. So like you're renting their time, like they are giving their time to this company and this mission, and it could be taken away tomorrow. They could leave tomorrow, they could quit tomorrow, and they don't owe you anything. So for you to just appreciate what they bring to the table when they do, knowing if someone decides to leave or if it just is no longer a right fit for them, something is going to replace in a better way for both ends of the party. So I think like being in a small business, like I love my girls, like I love them. I think when my first employee quit, it was like a stab to the heart. I'm like, what? But this can't happen. Like you're with me forever. And it's like, no. Like you're not, people aren't with you forever. Sometimes you get lucky and sometimes people do decide like they're very happy and they want to stay. But I think going through like turnovers and learning how to handle when people quit, like learning how to deal with that gracefully, having to fire people, that's something that has kind of helped me as well. And just like really staying true in your power. For me, I'm 30 years old. I'm very young. I'm single. So, and I'm 5'2", like I'm very little. So I think like, just like my energy, people, it's just very easy to kind of overpower. Like you're just like this little girl that likes to throw aesthetically pleasing parties. It's like, no, I have to stand in my power and I have to kind of create. And it's nothing that you have to prove, but I think just by being like naturally, like knowing where your gifts are as a leader, people are drawn to that and respect that, and making sure that you have a team that respects you. And yeah, I think it's just like it's a double situation where it's like employees, you should be grateful for your employees and your employees should be grateful for their employeeship. That makes sense. It's a double
employer or something.
Employer, yeah. I'm like, it's a double side. It's like gratitude on both ends, as long as it's an even exchange, and when it's not an even exchange, to acknowledge it and to address it and to know like not everything is forever and it's okay. I think that's the biggest thing is like employees are like, oh, I'm so scared to like quit. It's like, no, like please do, because that makes space for other people that genuinely like see it as like a huge opportunity, or like someone that would give 110% in this position. And then I think people get afraid also of like firing people if it's not a right fit. It's like, it's business. And I think I've throughout the 4 years, like I've learned a lot when it comes to employees, and I pour into my employees and they pour back into Lushra. But it hasn't always been that way. And I know there's going to be another time when there is certain like people quitting. It's like, okay, just handling it with grace and knowing that everything is happening for you and not to you.
Right. Now I feel like it's like a disservice on both ends. If like, let's say the employee, they're working for you, but like they're not happy, or they're not like doing what they're supposed to, and like they're just not, it's not for them. And then also for you, because you're not they're not giving you their best, and then it's affecting your business in a way. So almost having them is a lose-lose situation. So
right, it's on both ends. It's like if someone I'm like, I always tell the girls, I'm like, if you feel a certain type of way, like if there's tension or conflict, like it's almost always a two-way road. Like if you're feeling conflict with someone, it's not like they're not feeling it too. So like I've learned like having uncomfortable conversations in the business like is needed. It's not like a sorority where we're all just like besties, like throwing parties. It's not like that. It's like we're working for this company, Lushra, and here's what we have to do in your individual role. And if there's conflicts with other things, it's like, let's address it. Let's like learn how to like operate as an organization. And I think it just takes time and like synergy for teammates to kind of know like how everyone operates, where people's strengths and weaknesses are. And it's just an everyday thing of just being aware and like conscious that like this is a job and this is work, and we try to treat each other like sisters, but in the end of the day, like, it's a job and it's work, and it's hard work too.
Yeah, definitely. But what are some of your standards that you set for yourself just in your personal life and everything like that?
Yeah, I really try to lean into my intuition and just know if it feels off for me, then it's off. I really try to lead with integrity, and just making sure that I'm leading by example for sure. So I really do. I try hard to just lead a good example, and to own up to my mistakes and just lead with integrity and not perfection. Every single birthday, I ask myself two things. I'm like, okay, what are you leaving behind in the previous year? What are you not taking with you? And then what are you going to embody? So this year, my birthday, I was like, I am leaving behind perfection. Like I cannot operate as a perfectionist anymore. And I literally just got to let it go. So I'm letting perfection go. And then I'm embracing my creative freedom that I've created. So just trying to tap more into my creative freedom and just letting go of perfection. That's what I'm focusing on for this year.
I like those two questions. You said is what can I embody for this coming year, and what do I need to delete basically?
Like what do I want to leave behind? Yeah, what I want to leave behind and what I want to take with. And it's just like a good like refresh, just like, okay, this is another year. Like, do we want to keep doing the same thing? Or I just think birthdays are such a nice way to evaluate just kind of where you are in life. It's a new year, it's a fresh slate. So just really thinking like, what don't you want to bring on and what do you want to take on?
Yeah, that's really cool. But what do you feel like the most like successful, happiest, wealthiest, like the best version of yourself? What does that look like as far as like how they act, how they think, what do they look like everything like that? How do they carry themselves?
I love that. I think that my best self is interesting. I actually I don't know, but I will say when it was maybe last year. I was in LA and I was in this flower shop and I was like looking at this girl at checkout, and like you could tell she worked out. She was probably 40 years old. You could tell she worked out. Like she looked good. She was in her workout clothes. It might have been like 10 a.m. So clearly just had a nice morning, nothing like pressing that she needed to like get ready for, just like pretty lax. And then someone turned like, and then she was picking up flowers. So it was like a weekly thing that she was doing. She turned around and someone was like, "Bye, Jill." And I like looked at her. I was like, okay, I feel like I was just looking into like my future self of what I wanted to be. And her name was Jill. So I think someone that just has freedom in her day, someone that like can choose what her schedule is, someone who gives to others, gives to herself, and make sure that she creates time for her family and her friends before anything else. I think relationships are the most important thing that we have here on earth. And sometimes it's easy to let other things like go before relationships. So I want to make sure like my high self is constantly pouring into the people that I love.
That's interesting that you say that about the relationships, because another question I was reflecting on, I guess, is like, what do I want to like experience or have, like by the time I die? And I was trying to think like, do I want to own something? Like, do I want a yacht? Do I want a private jet? Like, I was just letting my mind wander, and I realized the things that I wanted most were relationships with like different people. That's what felt the most exciting to me. I feel like is like the people that I can meet, like maybe some of these famous people that I look up to on like YouTube or whatever the case is, having awesome conversations like this with people. This is the thing that I feel like it fulfills me the most.
And I feel like you're on your way. Like you are on your way 100%. You're living that. So I think that's great.
Thank you. What do you feel like you're doing right now to level yourself up into that version of yourself that you just described?
I'm definitely like taking time for myself. I'm staying in my feminine energy. I'm learning how to cook. I'm designing my apartment. I'm doing things outside of my business world that makes me happy. And I'm learning what those are. So like Lushra can be taken away from me. I don't want that to define me one bit. I think that's just the easiest thing to point out. Like, oh, you own a brick and mortar space in the middle of Dallas. You have a team. You have this cool truck. You have an Instagram following. I don't want to be defined by any of those things. So I really want to make sure like I'm multi-dimensional, where like if anything were to come and take away anything, I would absolutely be okay.
That reminds me a lot of, I guess, relating that to being an athlete, because a lot of times, like, as an athlete, like, so when I was in college and everything, my whole life was swimming. That was all I cared about, and I almost defined myself by that swimming. And so now that I'm not swimming at the moment, and I haven't swam in 6 months, I don't know, maybe I'll get back into it, maybe I won't, but I'm still trying to figure that part out, I guess, in my life. But basically, I guess almost kind of leaving from swimming, it's just, I don't know, it was hard because you feel like that's your identity, is swimming, or like whatever that thing is for you. And then being able to detach from that and realize that you're more than that. Like, you're not just a swimmer or just an athlete or just a business owner. Like, there's so much more that makes up who you are.
I love that. And the art of detachment is something what I'm practicing. So it's like detaching yourself from the outcome. It's like falling in love with the process and just completely detaching yourself from the outcome and falling in love with the process. And like, that's where life lies, is the process, and detaching yourself from any reality of the outcome or anything, objects or things that are in your life. Just knowing that you are, as a human, my mentor always says, you're born alone and you die alone. Like, you have to be okay being alone, and you have to be okay like detaching yourself from any other thing in this world.
That's so true. Yeah. But what advice would you have for young entrepreneurs?
My advice would to be just go for it. And if something like lights you up, if you're so excited about it, like that is the universe's way of like pushing you towards that. So if you have an idea and you can't stop thinking about it, or it just makes you like giddy and like want to move, like that's it. That's your idea. Don't overthink it. And then if you just dive in and go for it, the universe will always like push you in a way where it's meant to go. So you just have to like lean into like detours, like those are there for you. Failures, like those are there for you. So just knowing the process of failing and overcoming is truly part of the journey. So, you know, I could say like my first business failed. The wine glasses failed. Like it failed, but like here I am, like it pushed me to be in this moment right now, talking to you about being a successful entrepreneur. So I think that's really, really cool. And you have to constantly evolve. And also don't listen to what other people have to say. I think I'm also learning of like not caring what other people say. If you're doing something, if you're putting yourself out there and other people are saying anything, it's a projection of how they feel about themselves. So what other people say about you is a direct reflection of them, and it has nothing to do with you. So I think just standing true in your confidence, it's practice, and it's time, and it's feeling confident and successful, but it's like the little wins and the little lessons in life, like they make you more confident. And as you build up your confidence, you can be like more empowered of staying in your truth and just truly going with what lights you individually up on fire, because no one else is going to have that feeling or know what you want to do in life. So it's just grabbing that and just doing it.
Definitely. I think that's super relatable to me right now, because I guess I'm not going to say names, but there's people that are pretty close to me that have been kind of like laughing at the fact that I'm doing a podcast. And unfortunately, some of those people are in my family, and they're not being very supportive of it. And like when I was talking to one person, they're like, "You're doing a podcast? How long are you going to do that before like you actually get a real job?" And I said, "Well, as long as it takes, because this is what I want to do." And it's like, "Oh my gosh." And we're like laughing. And she was saying, "Andrew, the family is like thinking that you're, they're kind of disappointed. Like they're trying to understand, like, what are you even doing with your life right now?" And I said, "I don't care what they think." I said, "I know what my plan is. I know what my goals are, my mission, all that stuff. So it doesn't matter what they think or what you think." I told this person straight up, I said, "It's because you can't see yourself like doing this. That's probably why you're projecting this on me." So yeah, yeah.
I mean, I feel for you on that. And I'm just like, keep going, like keep sending emails to other entrepreneurs. Like everyone wants to share their story, like they do. Everyone wants to feel seen, be heard. Everyone wants to be loved. Like we all have this like mutual feeling of wanting to belong and to connect with people. So I think, keep doing what you're doing. Like people do want to share their stories, and they do want to feel seen and be heard.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But oh yeah, I almost forgot to ask you this.
6 months to prepare for the actual like filming, which was like business crash course, like learn all your numbers, be prepared for any question, which was great. It was so good for me. The actual process really, it also helped develop my confidence. And I think going on to Shark Tank, I was more focused on empowering myself and like showing up as a confident woman, someone who believed in themselves. I think more than anything, that's what it prepared me for, is like, how do I present myself in front of 5 of the most successful entrepreneurs ever?
Right.
So learning that you can be put in through any situation and you can show up as yourself. I think the rejection of not getting an investor hurt me a lot. I think I had poured all my eggs in this basket, and I was like, "Oh, this is it. This is how I'm going to become successful. This is Lushra's story. We're going to skyrocket." And the fact that no one had wanted to invest, it hurt me for sure. I was like, why? But I will say, one of the entrepreneurs, Barbara Corcoran, she really empowered me. And she was like, "You know what? Like, you have a story and you need to lead with your story and your mission. And that's going to take you places. And that's what's going to get people to like really resonate with Lushra and your business. And you got to keep going." So I think learning like, okay, there is no there's no one that's coming to save me. There's no investor, there's no money, like there's nothing outside. And I had thought that this was it. So it's like for me to realize like, okay, like no one's coming to save me. There's no investor that wants to like be my partner. Like I don't have a partner. I don't have a co-founder. It empowered me of like, okay, you're on your own. You're not giving up. You will turn this story into something like, oh shoot, I wish I would have invested. But also opening up to connections. Like I now have connection with Mark Cuban and Barbara. So the fact that I have their contacts and like I can lean on them, and I think just putting me in this whole new realm of like business and experience, it just took me to the next level.
That's super cool. So I got one more question for you, and then we're going to do like a little speed round of 3 questions that I ask at every end of every podcast. But so where have you connected with other successful entrepreneurs? And I guess, how do you, like for someone who hasn't built something very big yet, or maybe they don't have anything yet, they're just starting out, like how do you get into those circles where like with successful people or like-minded people, you know?
Yeah, I would say like my first year, I teamed up with 3 other entrepreneurs that were starting the same thing, the same stage as me. So like having other entrepreneurs that were in the weeds and like literally building something from the ground up, that was so important for me. So finding other people, going to places where other entrepreneurs would be, to like be around like-minded individuals, it's make or break. So if you're surrounding yourself around people that are just focused on the next brunch or like the next party or the weekend activities that most 20 somethings just concentrate on, like get to the weekend, like that's gonna make you sink if you just are constantly around those people that just want to get to the weekend. You have to know that these Saturdays that you're investing your time in is for your future. And if you're around other people that are also like investing in their future, it makes things easier. It's like, well, no, duh, I'm gonna not go to this activity that all my friends are at because I'm building something and I actually believe in that. But to having other people that are going through it with you, it's really nice. And then also like finding entrepreneurs that are above you and finding people that have hit this next level of success above you. I have a mentor in Dallas. She has built a beauty business that is, you know, in Nordstrom, in Ulta, in all the places. And she takes time out of her crazy busy schedule to talk with me and pour into me as an entrepreneur. I think it's because I would show up and hear her speak when she had like a public event. I would introduce myself to her. So like when I sent her a cold email and I asked her for a very specific question, she remembered me as someone who was listening to her at an event and introduced myself to her. And so she took an hour out of her time to pour into me and help me. But I knew I had to show up and like somehow get a way to like have her notice me. And it was by like supporting her and the public events that she would host and just making sure like, I'm going to introduce myself. Like I want her to know who I am and I want her help because she's built this amazing company. And I think, I don't know if it's like this with males. I would love for it to be, but something about being a female and just empowering other females, like there's no other thing in life that is, I just feel so empowered being a woman and like doing what I'm doing. And other women are so, they help so much because they like girl to girl, they're like, I want to help you in this man driven world of like, no, we're going to empower each other and I'm going to help you be successful. There's nothing outside of you that you need. But I think being a female is very empowering in the entrepreneurship world. I think that's probably a new thing. But I think same for guys. Like guys want, I just think, I follow more so like female entrepreneurs. So I would hope that successful men would also help out others. I hope that they would take time out of their day to pour into others. I just know from a female perspective, they have and they will. So
that's cool. Yeah, definitely. I think men, it goes the same way for the most part. Because I mean, to be honest, most of my mentors, like, I mean, I do have both male and female mentors, but even the males are just as open to helping me and like being there and like giving me guidance as the females are. I guess the only difference is I feel like the males are a little bit more direct than some of the females. I don't know if that's a gender thing necessarily, but maybe it is. I don't know.
It's a good thing. I know
Uh-huh.
sometimes when I work with men, I'm like, I don't know if you meant it that way, but you're just a lot more direct, and that's okay.
Mhm.
But I think there is something too of taking men lead with directness. And I think there's also something to take just like leading with truth. And I think sometimes like female energies soften things, and it's like, no, go straight to it, let's lead with facts. And that's a very like a masculine like energy. And I actually have learned a lot of like, okay, how do I lead right now with like masculinity of like lead with truth? It's just lead with truth, lead with facts over feelings, over everything. And I think as women, like we do lead with feelings, and like I'm very vulnerable and open, and so I lead with those feelings. But when it comes down to like having direct conversation, I think the masculine energy of just like leading with facts, like this is what it is, this is what we need, this is how we're going to move forward. I think taking that like masculinity into a business, I think is 100% needed and important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yeah, I think both having male and female like leaders or even mentors, I feel like it's so important to get like the different perspectives, I guess, of everything, you know, like both
I agree,
sides of it.
for sure.
Uh,
Gotta
but
find a male. Yeah.
yeah, but so we're gonna go on to the speed questions now, and
Okay.
they may not be as speedy as you think, just because I don't know, some of these are hard to, I guess, come up with off the top of your head. But what's the best piece of advice that you feel like has impacted you the most?
The best piece of advice is to always take the high road. It's less traveled, but it's always worth it.
Mm-hmm.
That was given to me in college by my mom. And I think like when you start going through life, you realize not everyone has the same values as you. And to not like stoop into a lower level, but to just stay true to who you are and take the high road is very hard. But like, yeah, the end reward is always worth it. And I will never forget that.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's awesome. And then what's your favorite quote and why?
Let me think about that. Oh, I wish I knew this off the top of my head. Give me a second to think.
That's okay. I know this is a hard one because they're like, it's supposed to be a quick one, but I know there's so many good like quotes out there and stuff.
I know there's good ones. I would say be who you are, because the people that matter don't mind, and the people that mind don't matter.
Yes, I totally agree with that. That's good. Yeah, be who you truly are. That's something I've learned from do you know who Tim Grover is?
No.
Oh, you got to check him out. He's I've done mentorship with him. He's awesome. He was like the old weightlifting coach of Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, and has trained several other high-level athletes. But yeah, one thing he preaches is always be who you truly are, because everyone else is taken, and that's what makes you special.
Very true.
Mm-hmm. And then last thing is, what book do you recommend that everyone should read?
Ooh, one book.
Mm-hmm. You can, if there's more than one, you can say it too.
Also, a recent book that I've read that's very light, The Mountain Is You by Brianna West. That was just like, I listen to Audible in the mornings, and so that was like, when she was talking, I was like, "Ooh, that's so good! That's so good! That's so good!" It was a great reminder book. Anything Gabby Bernstein, if you're starting to like get into like spirituality, the book that really like opened my mind to like the spiritual world was The Universe Has Your Back by Gabby Bernstein. That helped me out a lot. Yeah. And then for business, I would recommend The Heart of Business. It really helps you like get clear on your mission and like to lead with your mission and to make sure that it's incorporated throughout the entire business. That's why we're here at work, is because of this mission. So The Heart of Business, and then The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. It talks a lot about getting to that next level version of you, and to not let you hold yourself back. So The Big Leap is another one of those books. I'm like, ooh, it's so good.
That sounds
I
good.
could read it every year. Yeah.
That's cool. I have to check those out for sure. I got like a big reading list of books. I feel like it's a never ending thing that you never catch up to, because there's always more books that come before you finish the next one.
For sure. It's just like this constant evolution of wanting to learn more information, and making sure it's just a part of like your routine. Like I do Audible because I read like nonfiction books at night to kind of help me go to bed a little bit. But yeah, in the morning on Audible, that's how I get all my information.
Dang, that's awesome. Well, Joe, thank you so much for hopping on the podcast. And where can people find you?
They can find me. Lushra's Instagram is just at Lushra. Our website is lushra.com. It's Lushra. My personal Instagram is my name _ last name Berger. So Jill _ Berger.
Awesome. Sounds good. I'll put the link to Lushra and also your Instagrams in the description. So make sure you guys check her out, and don't hop off the podcast yet, because I will talk to you for a second after. Okay.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. My pleasure.